Minister of Foreign Affairs on the 75th anniversary of the United Nations. Let's take a look.
وإعادة توجيه دفتها على نحو يستجيب للفرص والتحديات المستجدة التي تواجه عالمنا. في هذا الصدد أود انتهاز هذه الفرصة لأبرز عددا من القضايا التي تعكس رؤية مصر لمستقبل الأمم المتحدة. Firstly, the United Nations response to the COVID-19 outbreak reaffirms that it is imperative to undertake serious and urgent reforms to the United Nations systems. We must take swift and concrete action to ensure that the organization remains relevant, efficient, and effective in meeting the challenges posed by the rapid transformation in the political, security, developmental, and humanitarian global landscape. Egypt, therefore, supported the political declaration adopted by the United Nations General Assembly on the 21st of September on the commemoration of the 75th anniversary of the United Nations, and remains committed to working with fellow member states and the United Nations systems to fulfill its goals. Secondly, Egypt takes great pride in its long-standing contributions to the UN peacekeeping operations. As the seventh largest troop contributor with more than 30,000 uniformed personnel deployed in 38 different peacekeeping missions worldwide over the last 5 decades. Moreover, Egypt remains committed to the ongoing efforts to reform peace operations within the framework outlined by the Secretary General's Action for Peacekeeping Initiative and its declaration of shared commitments. In this regard, Egypt is proud to have taken the initiative to draw up the Cairo roadmap on enhancing peacekeeping performance, which reflects the perspective of the African countries contributing to the United Nations peacekeeping operation, as well as those hosting them. Thirdly, Egypt is equally proud of its contribution to the evolution of the African and the United Nations peace-building and sustaining peace policies and mechanisms. Our commitment is exemplified by Egypt's leading role in the United Nations Peace-Building Commission since 2006, as well as its new role as the champion of the African Union Post-Conflict Reconstruction and Developmental Agenda and the host of the African Union Center established to provide the technical backing for this policy framework. Fourthly, Egypt remains committed to supporting the UN Global Counterterrorism Strategy. In this regard, we will continue to work through the relevant United Nations mechanisms to enhance the international efforts to combat and eradicate terrorism and extremism conducive to terrorism. Finally, it is beyond doubt that the COVID-19 pandemic served as a painful reminder of the crucial importance of genuine commitment to the achievement of the 2030 Sustainable Development Agenda. In this context, achieving the Sustainable Developmental Goals remains a national priority for Egypt, as embodied in Egypt's Vision 2030. I would like to take this opportunity to commend the efforts of the entire United Nations family in Egypt for its support of our development efforts and aspirations. We look forward to continuing this pivotal partnership in the years to come as we move forward towards continuing the implementation of our vision in that regard. Distinguished guests, the United Nations at its 75th anniversary is at a pivotal moment in its history. There has been no time in human history more requiring of effective international cooperation than today. From the challenges of reversing the negative impacts of COVID-19 to the existential threat of climate change and the menace of global terrorism, now is the time to demonstrate and affirm our collective commitment to multilateralism. Egypt aspires to celebrate the triumphs of this organization in addressing all these challenges, paving the way for a better future for current and future generations. I wish to conclude by recognizing the role and contribution of Mr. Richard Dictus in advancing the partnership between Egypt and the United Nations system throughout his tenure as the United Nations Resident Coordinator. Mr. Dictus, we remain grateful to you and your entire team for all your hard work and for the dedication you demonstrated over the past 4 years. We wish you all the best on your next endeavors. Thank you very much for your attention.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and that was the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Samah Shoukry's address on the 75th anniversary of the United Nations. And to continue with our continued coverage of the parliamentary elections, now, of course, since the establishment of the Egyptian House of Representatives, the number of women parliamentarians has never reached the number that it is expected to reach this time round, with 25% of the total of the parliamentary seats coming by the latest constitutional amendments for women. Let's take a look at more details in the story, and we'll be right back. Stay tuned.
Since the establishment of the Egyptian House, the number of women parliamentarians has never reached a high percentage. 1 year after Egyptian